is Roxy Firewife Lawyer Mom, and in today's video we are going to continue our series of planning your year in advance. Today is part 3 of that series, and I am going to go over my big homeschool Bible / binder where I keep all of the nuts and bolts to my homeschool year. And I'm also going to be sharing with you how I plan the weeks that we're going to homeschool, our attendance calendar, and what weeks we're going to be homeschooling, what weeks we're not, what days we're going to take on and off. So we're going to go through this next part of how I plan my homeschool year in advance. So grab a cup of coffee or tea because this is going to be a great video continuing on that series. So stay tuned. Welcome to Firewife Lawyer Mom. So in the last 2 videos, I shared with you my first initial steps on planning my homeschool year. As you guys see, I begin very early in about April or May to start to think about the next homeschool year and what our plans are going to be. And so the first 2 videos, which I will be linking in the description box below, so if you haven't watched those, definitely you need to get those watched before you watch this one so that you can kind of see the method of how I get things moving along. And so I shared in my first videos, I shared how I choose curriculum, how I map out that curriculum, how I budget it, what are some of the resources that I use to search for curriculum. I went through all of those kinds of things. So in this video today, I am probably at the point in my planning where I'm waiting for my curriculum to come in. I'm highlighting on my chart all of the things that have already come in and just tracking those orders as I go. But in the meantime, I begin to start to kind of outline what the format of our homeschool year is going to be. Kind of outlining, I would say, like the skeleton of the homeschool year. And so the beginning part of that is going through my homeschool binder, which has all of the nuts and bolts of my homeschool year. So what I typically do is I go through the binder, which has the current year's stuff in it, and that helps me to kind of formulate a little checklist of the documents that I need to prepare, the forms and the things I need to prepare for the following homeschool year. And so I'm going to be sharing that binder with you today because it's just much easier if I turn the camera around and share with you the binder so that you can kind of see the types of planning sheets that I have within that binder to help me outline my year. And so I'm going to be turning the camera over to show you guys what that looks like. Now, before I do that, when I go through my binder and I kind of make a list of all of the different documents that I need to prepare, the first thing that I do as kind of like my first real steps into actually beginning the actual planning process of what we're going to be doing is I like to create what's called an attendance calendar. So this is what I prepare at the beginning and before I even begin to map out curriculum and how we're going to do our weeks of school and what curriculum, is going to go what days. Before I do any of that, I've got to figure out what are the weeks that I'm going to be homeschooling? How many weeks am I going to be homeschooling? How many days during that week? What days are we going to take off? What breaks are we going to have during the school year? And so I like to have that because that's what's going to create my year at a glance where I'm going to actually be inputting all of the lessons that they're going to be doing week by week. And so if I don't know how many weeks I'm going to be doing, there's no way I can make that roadmap. So I like to create this little attendance sheet. Now I will link the form below in the description box in case you want to do it. Now, I have the one I already created for the 2024-2025 school year. So if you're looking to do that, I will link it in the description box below. But this is my attendance calendar. It basically has all of the months in the year beginning in July and ending in June. And I then mark what are the weeks we're going to be doing. Now, typically in my homeschool, we do between 36 and 38 weeks. However, I'm kind of leaning a little bit more this year towards 38 weeks. I found that last year I planned 36 weeks and we still had to have like an extra couple of weeks just to get everything done. So I'd rather just plan that already a year ahead of time, knowing that I have those 2 weeks extra. So we do about 184 days of school and 38 weeks. So I go through the calendar and I start to plug in what are going to be the weeks that I do. So I have a little color code system because, you know, I love color codes. So the yellows are the days that we're doing school. Those are the days that we are on school. It's a school day that I have planned. The blue boxes are birthdays. So our family has a tradition that if your birthday is during the school year, we don't school that day, because who wants to go to school on their birthday? So I like to mark those in my calendar as days that we're gonna possibly take off. Now, if we're really don't have anything like planned, we may do a little bit of school, like maybe half day, but for the most part, we take off on our birthdays. So I like to mark those, and it's just for our immediate family. And then the red are holidays that we're going to be taking off. Basically, I put in there Labor Day, Memorial Day, Christmas, New Year's Day, things like that. Those are just like kind of the federal holidays, just to keep myself in check as to knowing, you know, whether I want to take a break during those holidays. I like to just mark them in a different color. And then the gray are the weeks that we're taking off. So those are the actual breaks of school. So for example, if you look here, in August, we don't begin until the 12th. That's going to be our first day of school. And then we are going to be taking off 2 weeks for our Christmas break. So that will be December and January's weeks. We're going to be taking off a week in November for Thanksgiving, and we will take 2 weeks off in the spring for spring break. So pretty much those are our 3 big breaks. We like to do 1 break in the fall, 1 break for Christmas winter break, and then another one in the spring. And that's because we just love to do tons of things during that time, celebrate the holidays, all those kinds of things. And so instead of being distracted by all of the events and all the things that we do with like our homeschool community and our neighborhood, I'd rather just have those weeks off just so that we can really immerse ourselves into that holiday and experience it. So I like to mark those. And then I also like to take like a pen, a different colored pen, and mark all the weeks. And that helps me to see that I did the 38 weeks. So I like to map that all out, and this really is super helpful because what I end up doing is I take this and I start to circle the days we actually do. And I also like to mark if there's any days that we take off that were unexpected. Because of course, with homeschooling, life happens, as you guys know. And so if we get sick, or if we, let's say, have a long weekend and we were traveling somewhere and everybody's very tired. My daughter's also a competitive dancer, so sometimes we have dance competitions during the weekend. And so if everybody got back really late, then we like to take that next day off. And so what I'll do is I'll mark it on this calendar, and then I will take one of the days that we already have planned off and we'll do school that day and kind of swap it out so that we really don't lose any days that we had planned, but we're just kind of switching things around. So this is a great way for me to keep track of things and to have that mental picture of what the entire year is going to look like. And this is one of the first documents that I prepare as I'm planning my homeschool year. After I do this, I then begin to prepare my year at a glance. And that is going to be part 4 of our series of planning your year in advance, which is going to be the next video. So make sure that you hit the subscribe button and that you are notified when I post the next video, because as I said, this is a series that is going to go through the soup to nuts planning of my homeschool year. Okay, so the time has come. I'm going to be switching the camera over and I'm going to be showing you my homeschool binder so that you can get an idea of how I mentally prepare to plan the homeschool year. Okay, so I'm going to share with you my homeschool planner and I call this my homeschool Bible, actually, because it's not like my actual teacher planner where I put all my lessons in. This is just kind of like my homeschool Bible, and it's where I keep all of my records and all the things that I'm going to do for the homeschool year. Part of my planning my year in advance has to do with clearing this out from the year before and then putting in the stuff for next year. So before I clear this out from last year, I'm going to show you what's in this homeschool binder so that you can kind of get an idea of how I organize things in my homeschool year. So It's basically a 3-ring binder. It's pretty thick. I think it's like a 2.5-inch binder. And so when you open it up, it just has like some stickers that I use, some of the, you know, things that I had from a couple of years ago, some flags that we did for our 50 state unit study. If you look at the tabs, now one of them broke. I'm so sorry about that. This is the wear and tear of the year. But my binder is actually divided into 4 different sections, or actually 5 different sections. I have the planning section, the circle time section, which is where we do our morning basket. I used to call it circle time. We have a tab for my 3rd grader and a tab for my 6th grader, and then our family subjects. So that is how I divide this binder, and I'm able to stick everything in that I need. I stick things in throughout the year as I am planning, as I am going through the planning process. I put in here our calendar for the year. The next thing I have here is my morning time basket divider. And so what I have in here is the first thing that I open up, which is my year at a glance sheet, which is what I explained to you guys in my previous videos. This is where I map out the entire year through all the weeks we are homeschooling, and I put in what the lessons are. As I have said in other videos, this is not, I'm not married to this. It just helps me to stay track so that we can finish our curriculum for by the end of the year. And so I always have at the beginning of each tab for the section that I'm doing, I always have that year at a glance first thing. Here we have the morning affirmations. So when it's our morning time, we do an affirmation. And so I always have it in this binder so I can reference it throughout the year. We end up memorizing that as well. Then here I always have my morning time planners. So these are planners that I create for each month that we're doing our morning time. And I put in all the resources we're going to be using for that month. And it just kind of helps me to see the month in an overview so that I can make sure that we hit the topics and the things that we want to study. I put in here, you know, what our morning dailies are, which is our daily affirmation. We learn about the saint of the day, and all kinds of things. And I could do separate videos on this as well if you guys would like. So I do these morning time planners. Then here I have my morning time breakdown. So I basically do morning time Monday through Thursdays from 8 to 10. And so I just have a little schedule as to how the flow of that morning time is so that it keeps me on track. I usually have all of this open up when I am doing my morning time to make sure we're going through all the resources and read alouds that we do during our morning basket. And we get a lot done because, like I say, I loop through a lot of stuff. And so it really helps us to get a lot more throughout the year done. Then here I have some tabs with some of the stuff that we did for morning time. For example, we did a apologetics class. So I have my little teacher manual for that. And then I have stuff that we did for Squilt Live, which is our music appreciation. So I put that in there, and then just all of our music appreciation lessons. Also, I have the different countries that we studied this year for our geography day, which is we do on Thursdays. I have all the tabs for that as well. So that's our morning time tab. The next tab that I have, the next divider, is my 3rd graders. So I also have, again, for my 3rd grader, her own year at a glance for her curriculum. Just the roadmap that helps me to make sure I get everything done throughout the year. Also keep any kind of resources that I need for grading or for the curriculum specifically that I use. So here I put in like answer keys that I need for some of the workbooks that she does specifically. I put the answer keys in my binder, so when it's time to grade, I have those in case I need to reference them. These are some posters that I did for our first language lessons. We do a first language lessons for grammar. And so I create these little review posters for her so that she can learn all of the grammar concepts. So I put that in there as well. And then this is her morning worksheets, her different packets that I have. I use the Moffatt girls, which I will link in the description box below. She creates a whole year no prep packet worksheet where you just, it's kind of like my warm-up worksheets, and so I keep those all in here and I pull them out on Sundays. I pull out 4 or 5. She does one every single day. So I have that in there. And then we go to my 7th graders divider, and this is her section of the resources and the things that I need for to have in this big binder. And so the I use, just have some like element cards, things that we did for our chemistry unit. I put those in there. Again, her year at a glance, so that I can constantly be referencing it throughout the year, seeing where we're at and where we need to be. Okay, and so, for example, this is a little overview of my 6th grade. Well, she was in 6th grade, now she's going into 7th, but just what she's going to be doing, her daily flow, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. And so sometimes she'll do subjects 3 times a week or 2 times a week, and so I make sure that I have it there for her. Again, these are all worksheets that are referenced mainly at the beginning of the year so that they get what the flow is of how their day should be, because it's really helpful for them to be able to get their work done, to have a good flow. Now, eventually when they're in high school, I'm going to have them create these worksheets themselves, because it's such an important skill for kids to be able to learn how to navigate their tasks for the day. It's great. It's a great skill for when they start working, for when they go to college, you know, how they create these different workflows. But for now, I like to do them so that they see this model, and eventually they'll be able to copy that. I also put in her testing schedule. These are some of her tests from her math curriculum, so I keep them in there. I love Saxon Math because it has a testing schedule. It tells me when to give those tests after which lesson, which is awesome. And then I put some of her other BJU testing as well. I also have answer keys in this section as well, where I can reference when I'm grading her work. I have a year at a glance, which is of course much smaller. The boxes are a lot bigger because we don't do family subjects any other day but Friday. And that's pretty much it. This is what I consider my homeschool binder. I reference it throughout the entire year, throughout the week, and it really helps to keep everything all in one place. And that's it. That is part 4 of planning your year in advance. I hope that this was helpful for you. I hope that this gave you a little inspiration on how you can organize your homeschool year so that it runs on autopilot as you begin the school year. Next video, as I said, is going to be about what I do to start to actually get the curriculum and begin to apply it to the weeks of our homeschooling weeks that we have planned. And so that's going to be the next video, how I prepare those year at a glances. And really, once I'm done with my year at a glances, the rest is really just kind of getting all of the logistical things together for the homeschool year, like getting school supplies, figuring out what notebooks that we're gonna need, what kind of folders we're gonna use for each subject, all those kinds of things. And then I go into actually preparing for the first day of school, which we have really fun traditions that we do during the first day of school. And I'm gonna share all of that in this series, and I'm really excited to do that. So thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next video. Take care, bye-bye.